Today we're here with Annabella Newton from Phillips Ormond Fitzpatrick, and she's a patent attorney within the Chemistry and Life Sciences group. And today we're going to be learning a little bit about her research background and her transition into the world of intellectual property and patents. Thank you very much for joining us, Annabella.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Initially, are you able to tell us a little bit just about your research and educational background?
Sure. So I did my research career mainly in the fields of chemistry and medicinal chemistry, pharmaceutical chemistry. So I did a PhD at the University of Nottingham, which was sponsored by AstraZeneca, which was really good fun, really eye-opening. I got to spend a few months in their process chemistry labs in the UK. And that was sort of my first taste of the commercial realities of research. Before then, I had not really considered beyond the academic landscape. And so I spent a few months with AstraZeneca, and following the conclusion of my PhD, I got a job with CSIRO, and so relocated to Melbourne and spent a few years working with CSIRO at what was then the Materials Science and Engineering division. I think they're now the Manufacturing Business Unit.
Okay.
As they've changed, they like to change their name.
Always do.
And that was brilliant. I had a great time there. CSIRO obviously very commercially focused as an organisation, so had a good insight into more, I guess, business, translation, commercialisation of research, which was excellent. And having already had my interest in intellectual property sort of peaked during my time at AstraZeneca, started to enjoy my time at the lab a little bit less, and so made the transition, applied for a few jobs, and joined Phillips Ormond Fitzpatrick nearly 4 years ago.
Lovely. So I guess you kind of touched on it in sort of not enjoying sort of wet work or lab work as much. Were there any other factors that sort of motivated you to move sort of into fully commercial sort of patent attorney kind of area?
I just really found the challenge of it so interesting, and the role of intellectual property within that broader commercialisation process is what really interested me. And as I say, it was something that I noticed pretty early on as an eventual career horizon that I'd like to reach. And so when I started to enjoy the lab a little bit less, that's when
It was just a natural sort of transition, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And by this time I'd met a few patent attorneys in Melbourne, so I knew that it was something that I would be able to do here, rather than having to move back to the UK to do it.
So always, I'm glad to see you're enjoying it here, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that sort of highlights something that we've seen in talking to a few people, in that talking to someone who's in that kind of role is probably a really valuable insight into what the role actually entails, as opposed to reading a website or anything like that.
I think it's absolutely crucial to network and talk to as many people as possible, because I mean, I was fortunate in that I spoke to some people who were patent attorneys and loved it, but I also spoke to some people who had not enjoyed it and had gone back to research following some time as a patent attorney. So I was able to reassure myself that their concerns about the profession would not be my concerns.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that I had those conversations, because you want to go in with your eyes open. And I think when people are interviewing you, they want to know that you've done your research and you are not just doing this to get out of the lab.
Yeah, because it sounds cool. Attorney.
Exactly.
Was there any specific or like major skills that you found you were able to transfer from the lab into your role as a patent attorney?
I think being organised is something that is critical as a patent attorney. It's a very deadline-driven job. There's a lot of paper pushing. There's a lot of dates and deadlines that you need to be very aware of. So being able to be flexible in how you work and quickly adjust your workflows to, if something urgent comes in, you need to get it done that day, then everything else will have to get pushed out a little bit more. But just knowing what you've got going on so that transition can happen smoothly is really important. I've always been one who, I always have a lot of to-do lists, and so that kind of,
Sounds like that's a crucial component. Yes,
very much so.
Yeah.
So, and then also communication skills is critical as well. It's very important to be able to express yourself clearly. Your main job is it's translating between science and the law. And so if you can sum up complex legal theories in simple language, then you're well set to be a better patent attorney than perhaps someone else would be. So.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of sort of, I guess you made the transition over to, I'm going to use the acronym of POF, not the full name, too difficult. Did you start straight away with POF and then there was other training while you were on the job, or did you do any training before you started your role?
I think I had done one course here at Melbourne Law School, just to sort of make sure for my own benefit that I could actually sit through law lectures, because it is a big change from science.
How long was that course?
So that was a one-day course.
Okay.
Which they offer at the law school. It's called an overview of intellectual property.
Oh, okay.
And it's also part of the requirements that you need in order to qualify as a patent attorney. So in order to qualify as a patent attorney, you have to do a minimum of 2 years training with a senior professional in the field, and they sign off on your skills, but you also have to complete these academic requirements. So certain universities package them up as a master's, and so I also have done a master's now of commercial law. So I completed that last year, which was a huge relief.
Well done.
Yeah. And so that the registration requirements are administered by something called the Professional Standards Board. And there's various different things, and so this overview course was the first step, I guess, in that, and I really enjoyed it, which was a good sign. And I think it was something that helped mark my application, as it showed that I had done my research and that I was serious. Exactly.
I guess it's really great to be able to do a somewhat small investment, to be able to do that one-day course and get an idea of exactly what it's about, as opposed to going through all the recruitment process and trying to apply for a job that you're not even 100% sure you really like the work.
And I mean, there's certainly, since I've been doing the Masters, there certainly are people who are supporting themselves through the Masters. If you're a trainee with a firm, it's generally the arrangement that the firm will support you. But there certainly I've met plenty of people who are supporting themselves through the Masters with a view to getting a job at some point, if not at the end of their Masters. And that's a perfectly legitimate way of doing it as well. But it's just obviously a bit more
risky.
Expensive.
Pretty much, if you're not going to make it back. But who knows? But it sounds like it was, so you've got sort of your formal training plus your sort of on-the-job training. Is there then sort of exams or anything at the end of your registration?
So the Masters is divided into about 8 different units, and each one is examined. It's a mixture of sort of take-home examinations or horrific 4-hour exams.
Open book?
They are open book. But a lot of it's very sort of practical. So drafting a patent specification on the basis of some invention that you're given. So it's not really, you can't really prepare for that. It's just how good you are at putting that information, those skills into practice. So it's nerve-wracking.
I can imagine. Well, I'm glad you've made it out the end.
So am I.
Yes. Can relax a little bit. I suppose we've spoken a little bit about sort of some of the harder skills, some of the softer skills in terms of being sort of really organised and sort of being able to prioritise a lot. Are you able to sort of let us know about how those kind of skills go into your role in an everyday, kind of what your sort of typical day would encompass?
So I get to the office, and my office is on Collins Street, which is quite nice, and quick check of what I've got to do that day, so the to-do list, the diary, what's coming up, if I have any meetings with clients that I need to prepare for, or if I just have more substantive work to do. So and then I block out any time that needs to get that done. So for the bigger jobs, I like to block out time in my diary. So if I've got some drafting to do or a big piece of opinion work to do, I would like to make sure that I'm not going to be interrupted during that, because you really want to sink your teeth into it and not have to worry about sort of email replying, busy work, that kind of thing. And then it's just a question of liaising with my assistant and my supervisor to turn the rest of my work around and responding to queries and making sure that clients are kept happy.
This is a very, very variable, you've kind of always got tasks.
Oh, absolutely. And I could work on so many different things in a day. I think that's one of the main differences between research and being a patent attorney, is that when you have a research project, you're working on one thing for months, and there'll be smaller tasks within that broader project, but it's all towards the same goal, whereas I'll work on maybe 20 or 30 different things in a day, and some of them I might just spend a couple of minutes on them, and some of them I'll spend a good few hours, but it's a real variety and it's a real and a real range of science as well. So I work on everything from cake additive to bulletproof vests, and so it's much broader than my specialism of pharmaceutical science.
Yeah.
So.
It's good to have that variation.
Yeah, absolutely, and I learn so much as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's very, very
always
true.
learning.
You'd be a good dinner party guest.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
That's true. Probably one of the a question that I had as well is that do you work on patents sort of within teams, or are you more so sort of got your own responsibilities?
I think our team is pretty cooperative and collaborative, actually, which is great. I really appreciate that aspect of the team that I work in at the moment. It's certainly, I think any office work, any professional services office work can be quite isolating, because often you might be the only person working on the one thing. But the stage that I'm at, I always, talking to my supervisor about it, or liaising with other members of staff. So it's, when you're drafting a patent, it is usually sort of a one-man, one-woman job, but you're always seeking feedback, and we have a review system within our firm, so we have to liaise with other people. So.
I guess that's a good way. It's probably a fairly efficient way of doing it, in that you're able to just have one person do the bulk of the start of the work, in that it's therefore quite cohesive, but then you've got other people that can then put their feedback in.
Absolutely, and then you're getting a range of input from different levels of experience within the firm. I think it gives you the best outcome for the client as well.
Absolutely. And do you find, so I guess if you are working sort of a little bit more autonomously, that you would then go out and you would do a lot of the client facing meetings? That's starting to happen more and more, now that I'm qualified. I'm starting to build my own practice and develop a level of autonomy that I wouldn't have had as a junior. But I'm still very much always involving my supervisor in all of those meetings, because it's nice, I think, for the client to know that there's more than one person working on their stuff. And it's also from a practical standpoint, like if I want to take some holiday, that someone can pick up my work in my absence. So I think it's just good practice to always have more than one person across everything. Yeah, definitely. And I think, was there anything that you sort of skills you developed, or anything in terms of going into meetings with clients, and these are people that are mostly sort of researchers and may not have as much of a commercial oriented...
Yeah, so it's a huge range, actually. A lot of our clients are patent attorneys themselves, so some of the commercial managers that we deal with are patent attorneys, and then I also deal with a lot of startups and SMEs, and then there's the level of knowledge about the patent system in that space is much lower. They're certainly not patent attorneys that I'm dealing with there. And so, you have to be very conscious of, I guess, the level of knowledge in the person that you're talking to. And again, it's just about sort of translating the law to the scientist or the researcher that you're dealing with. And
I guess understand.
Trying to preempt their questions. Which is, I was a researcher myself and not a patent attorney 5 years ago, so it's not that hard to do, but there is it's easy to fall into the trap of assumed knowledge.
Definitely.
And I think a little bit of knowledge is a bit dangerous sometimes as well. People think that they're like, I know all about patents. There's a few considerations you might not consider.
And I guess it's using your expertise to try and get the most out of their research.
Absolutely.
What's patentable, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. And so to try and find the best strategy to take it forward. That sounds very interesting. I think as we were sort of moving on from sort of talking to clients into a broader sense, are you able to give us a little bit of an idea about sort of different projects that you've worked on in sort of different areas, some memorable, some, So I've worked on a few different things now. So I was able to go and spend some time in-house with CSIRO, which was fantastic. So going back to my former employer, but in a completely different role. So I was an in-house IP manager for a few months, which was fantastic because I was essentially working for the client as the client. So it was, invaluable experience, I think, for a patent attorney to work as an in-house IP counsel for some point of their career. I think it's really valuable. And to just understand a bit more, and obviously CSIRO was Australia's biggest patent filer, so to understand a little bit more about how their strategies work. And
fun fact.
Dinner
party fact.
Exactly. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that.
I guess, and you mentioned strategy, so I suppose you get to see it as a whole, as a whole big company. I suppose most of when you work with clients, you are dealing with their patent portfolio as opposed to just one specific pattern as well.
But I think it's really important that we add value and that we try and understand how the portfolio fits into the broader business strategy. And we have to try and add value where we can. So I think, having that in-house experience really helps with that.
Yeah, and I think that's potentially something that people may not consider so much about IP. I know it's something that I probably didn't think about. I kind of thought, someone comes to you with a discrete idea and says, I want to patent this, and I didn't about that wider IP business strategy and going from even a small business that, a startup that might have 3 products, in development, to a big company like CSIRO, and it's sort of working with them to not just about the single patent, but about sort of the strategy as a whole for the business.
Exactly.
I think it kind of widens out what a patent attorney does, as opposed to sitting there and...
And there's lots of different reasons why you might want a patent. I mean, there's obviously protecting your commercial product, but you might also want to be filing defensively or just to showcase your skills in that area. There's various different strategies that companies of all sizes use. It's
very interesting. Have you had any sort of interesting patents that have come across your way?
We do see some interesting ones every now and again. I've had some good client meetings. We have people pop in to the firm every now and again who want some advice on their new invention. And these perhaps would be the people who don't know too much about the patent system. So, you get the odd time machine every now and again, that sort of thing. So
it's always interesting. To the filing stage?
I haven't seen any at the filing stage, although I understand that has happened.
I've got to dare to dream, I suppose.
Exactly.
But,
and who knows? I mean, one of them might work one day. The perpetual motion machine, someone's got to do it.
It's got to get there eventually. Oh gosh. So I suppose sort of to round it out, I think we've sort of covered everything, which has been great. But in terms of sort of people who may be doing a PhD at the moment or doing a postdoc, and they've sort of started learning about sort of a patent attorney, they've come across it potentially in this module. Do you have any advice sort of for things they should consider or sort of places they could go to get a bit more information if it sounds like it's for them?
Well, I definitely recommend talking to patent attorneys, as many as possible. Pick people's brains and see what it is that they enjoy about the profession, and see if that's something that would chime with your career needs. And I guess also try and be an inventor on a patent. I don't know if it's not always an option in the research that you're doing, but it does sometimes come up. A lot of the university technology transfer offices and commercialisation offices will have the opportunity for you to get involved somehow, even if you're just doing a little bit of searching or something like that, something to help give you a bit more of a commercial edge, I suppose, over the more traditional academic research.
I suppose, and they're potentially some of the things as well that patent, that sort of IP firms look at when they're hiring.
Absolutely.
I guess it's anything that you can get that's a little bit more commercial than just being in your sort of academia box.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And I think it's even being open to, you mentioned sort of being an inventor on a patent, but to be understanding what is patentable, so that you can identify it within your research, and even if it doesn't, even if you don't end up going forward and filing it, at least you've got that mindset to
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Well, I think we've probably covered everything.
Good
so,
stuff.
Annabella, thank you so much for coming along and speaking with us today. It's been very valuable. And to all our STEM Central participants, if you have any questions for Annabella about her role or thinking about being a patent attorney, feel free to email us at info@STEM Central, and we will pass it along to her. And we hope you found the interview today with Annabella very valuable. Thanks very much.